Now, ace-10 offsuit. Did Doug Polk get the river card of death? I think so. I would have been all in. Doug Polk! Check, check, check. Hello everyone, I am Jonathan Little for PokerCoaching.com, here today with another hand from the High Stakes Feud between Doug Polk and Daniel Negreanu. They've been battling it out, having lots of drama for fun because, you know, why not, right?
If there was a deck of cards, I'd eat them. I'd eat a whole deck if I could. If that would change the spots. There's just, I can't even tell you. I mean, I swear, if I'm gonna have all these hands on video, I'll show you all these spots where you think like, well, this guy's sun run these spots like insanely, and I've just been ending up with by the river. I have nut flush draw aces and pairs. So by the river, I've got dick in hand. Just
right there.
Right here. Just in hand.
Let's talk about luck again today. He got so lucky. I made a flush. Look at all these flushes. There's a video of all these flushes he made. It was one. It was one flush. He was so lucky.
In this hand, Doug Polk raises it up with the ace-10 offsuit. Daniel Negreanu, 3 bets. 1, 2, 3. This is a spot where he should definitely be 3-betting his best hands. If you have not already, make sure you check out my free GTO pre-flop heads-up charts at pokercoaching.com/HUNL. And over to Doug Polk, he can either call or 4-bet every once in a while. And he does elect to go 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 bets. Back around to Negreanu, he should usually call in this scenario. At this point, if you do put in the 5 bets, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. At this point, what's Doug Polk going to do? He's going to fold all of his bluffs, call all of his nuts, and that is very, very bad for Negreanu. So, easy spot to just call. Before you see the flop, if you all are enjoying these videos, do me a quick favor. Click the like and subscribe button below. Also, there's a little notification bell. It goes ding, ding. Make sure you click those for me. I would appreciate it. Thank you. Let's see the flop. 6, 4, 4. Negreanu's going to check everything. Polk is going to bet tiny, as he should probably do with his entire range, right? We've seen this spot over and over and over and over and over again. This is a situation where the GTO strategy for Doug Polk on this flop is to bet small with everything, and that is exactly what he does. Notice here, Doug Polk's range, just to show you, this is what the pre-flop charts will show you as well, that Doug Polk's range is all of the good value hands he's happy getting his money in with, plus a smattering of bluffs, including a lot of these ace-x offsuit bluffs down here, as we see ace-10 offsuit, opting to bet, using a mixed size between either 50% pot or 20% pot. I think it's fine just to go small with the vast majority of your range here, but, whatever, this is fine. Notice some hands that do opt to go bigger the majority of the time are hands that are almost certainly best, but are slightly more susceptible to being outdrawn. Like, notice pocket 10s uses the big bet size roughly 2/3 of the time, whereas pocket aces uses the big bet size 17% of the time, so way less often, right? And that's because aces is way less likely to get outdrawn than pocket 10s, even though both hands are very likely to be the best hand at the moment. All right, over around to Negreanu. This is a spot where he's going to do a whole lot of calling, and when you have 2 overcards and a backdoor flush draw, you cannot fold. He should be actually raising 14% of the time, which is, a decent amount. Let's take a look at the hands he should be raising. We see pocket 10s raising a decent amount of the time, kind of like Doug Polk's pocket 10s want to be betting big. Negreanu's pocket 10s want to protect their equity. We also see ace-4 raising for the nuts. We also see ace-5 suited raising. I have to presume this is a flush draw. And then we see a smattering of these hands raising. I got to presume these are mostly flush draws. And then we see a few bluffs. King-queen offsuit, queen-jack offsuit, ace-10 offsuit opting to raise as well. Kind of a tough spot whenever you're facing a small bet, because whenever you do raise a hand like 10s and get all your money in, it's actually not all that great, because clearly Polk's range has aces, kings, queens, and jacks in it. But that is the right play from a game theory optimal point of view. Anyway, Negreanu's ace-jack suited calls here every single time that it does opt to continue. So far, so good for both players. They've played this hand perfectly, just like a robot would. All right, turn is the 8 of spades. This is a spot where Negreanu is still going to check very frequently. He could perhaps develop a leading range if he was in a different scenario with a much wider range containing a lot of these low suited connected hands. But if we go back and look at his range here, notice that he doesn't really have this these low suited connected hands in his range that would potentially like to lead. So therefore this board does not this turn does not actually connect all that well with him. So when the turn does not actually connect all that well with you, you have to check everything. And then Doug Polk elects to go for a bet. In this scenario, he bets third pot. How do you feel about that? Let's take a look at what the solver does in his scenario on the turn. And we see, interestingly enough, the solver bluffs this ace-10 offsuit 100% of the time. One thing I do want to point out, though, is that the solver actually uses a 50% bet size whenever it does bet. It much prefers that over the third pot bet that Polk uses. So, assuming Doug Polk knows the GTO strategy here is to bet using a 50% pot bet, why would he bet a third pot? Well, if you think your opponent's going to play very straightforwardly on the turn, you don't actually need to bet quite as large with your bluffs. You essentially get to bluff cheaper, which is very nice. Like if you think your opponent's just going to fold unless they have something to any bet, like let's say Negreanu has ace jack of hearts, or let's say he has, I don't know, king queen with the king of diamonds or something, like, you know, some nonsense hand. In this scenario, if you think he's just going to easily fold to any bet size, you might as well just throw out a small bet, pick up the pot, and make your life easy, right? You save money whenever your bluffs get called. So I get the idea that you may want to bet smaller, but we see here the GTO strategy is to go 50% pot the majority of the time. Interesting to see pocket tens just ripping it all in. Again, the hand most likely to be outdrawn, that's probably best, opts to just rip it. So that's pretty cool. Notice here, by the way, what would a shove be? A shove on the turn would be roughly 1.5 times pot, so pretty big turn shove with pocket tens, but hey, that's what the solver recommends. Now, Negreanu has a decision facing the third pot bet with his ace jack of spades. How do you play your draw? What I want you to do is I want you to pause the video and in the comment section below, type if you would fold, probably don't do that. Would you call? Would you raise small to 22,000 to minimum raise, click it back, or would you shove all in? In the comment section below, write what you would do. Go ahead, I'll wait for you. All right, did you do it? I sure hope so. That's going to go a long way to helping you improve your skills. And to help you learn how to play draws in all scenarios, I made a quiz for you. Check it out right now at pokercoaching.com/drawsquiz, DRAWSQUIZ, to make sure that you are not screwing up your draws, because a lot of people in this scenario, I am sure, said that you should just shove it all in. But that would be wrong. Why is it wrong with this hand? Because your ace-jack actually has a very large amount of equity. It can win when it goes check-check on the river, as we see in this case, right? And if we take a look at this, the solver confirms. Notice this ace-jack suited calls every single time. So does ace-10, so does ace-9. Why? Because this ace-high is actually good the majority of the time. And the draws that want to raise in this spot are going to be the draws that lack showdown value. Like we see ace-5 suited, opting to jam sometimes, right? Because ace-5 loses to ace-king, ace-queen, etc. Same thing with king-queen, right? King-queen suited, queen-jack suited, jack-10 suited, queen-10 suited. The draws that lack showdown value are way more inclined to play aggressively, whereas the draws that have some showdown value are way more inclined to call in most scenarios. Not all scenarios. I realize draws are kind of tricky to play, which is why I made the free quiz for you at pokercoaching.com/drawsquiz. So yeah, make sure you're not screwing this up. A lot of people did, I am sure. If you did, that's okay. You learned something. That's what we're trying to do here. We are here helping you continuously improve your skills. If you want to take your game to the next level, check out my training site, pokercoaching.com. I'm actually having a sale right now for Valentine's Day because everyone's in love. I'm giving away free money to all of you. Well, cheaper subscriptions to all of you. Check that out at pokercoaching.com/Valentines. All right. Negreanu does play his hand well. River is the 10 of spades. And you may say, ooh, Negreanu should lead here. He made the nuts. But no. You should not lead in this scenario. Why should we not lead in this scenario? Because Doug Polk has a whole lot of hands in his range that would like to jam all in. And if you lead, all of his bluffs are going to fold. Let's take a look at Doug Polk's river strategy. All of these good hands are obviously still going to put their money in, right? But what about the bluffs? Notice here we have like ace king offsuit sometimes, presumably with the ace of spades, bluffs, ace queen, ace jack, ace nine, ace eight. All of these random ace X opt to bluff a large chunk of the time. Look at this, even like king nine offsuit, queen nine offsuit, king jack offsuit, king queen offsuit. All of these hands are opting to go all in. And if you lead all in this scenario, you make it to where Doug Polk has an easy fold. You want to make sure you get full value from your opponent's bluffs, especially when there are hands in their range that would like to go for value, like aces, kings, queens, jacks, right? All these hands are still going to jam for value. If you happen to run into one of the better hands like pocket tens, pocket eights, such as life, you're going to lose. That's okay. But this is definitely a spot where you do not want to lead all in with your draw. This is a big mistake a lot of people make. They think that I have the nuts, and if I check, they might check behind, so I should lead, but do not do that. You always want to consider your opponent's range. There certainly are spots where the river card is so bad for your opponent to the point that they are going to check behind with the vast majority of their range. Like say the river was the, I don't know, 5 of spades, right? In that scenario, Polk would have basically no 7s for straight, relatively few full houses. And I mean, he still has some flushes, but like even then, it's a spot where he's not going to be betting with like pocket aces anymore. He's just going to check it back. So maybe then leading would at least have some merit. But on this river or a higher card spade river, you definitely want to check. So that is what Negreanu does. Good play. Negreanu played this hand perfectly, just like the robot. Old man's a robot. Now, ace 10 offsuit. Did Doug Polk get the river card of death? I think so. I would have been all in. Doug Polk, check. Check, check. Doug Polk plays it like an old man and opts to check, and somehow does not get stacked for his last $40,000. Why in the world would he possibly check it back here? The only reason I can come up with is he thinks Negreanu will not call a river bet with less than a pretty strong hand here. Maybe he thinks Negreanu's trapping. Old man does get tricky every once in a while and traps with those pocket aces or kings or queens. So if you know your opponent is tricky and trappy, then it certainly does make sense to not go for thin-ish value on the river whenever you do make a hand like this. Let's see what the solver recommends for Doug Polk with the ace 10 particularly. Notice with ace 10, which you don't have very often, but when you do have it, the solver bets it the majority of the time and checks it about a third of the time. And the time the solver does check the ace 10 is when you have the ace of diamonds. Why, you may ask? Because when you have the ace of diamonds, you make it to where your opponent's range is more likely to be a value hand, right? Because if you have the ace of diamonds, it means they don't have random ace high flush draws, right? So if they don't have ace high flush draws, they're more likely to have some sort of a value hand. And if they have some sort of a value hand, some of those value hands are slightly more likely to beat your rivered top pair. But with this exact hand, Doug Polk does bet 100% of the time. And he decided to not play like the solver. So 2 spots in this hand where Doug Polk elects to go against the solver. He bet a little bit smaller on the turn, and then he did not go for thin value on the river. And it turns out, it worked out amazingly well for him. Maybe, just maybe, Doug Polk is exploiting Negreanu exactly as he should. Because in this hand, I think most people, well, even the GTO solver would have got stacked. Instead, it didn't. It saved $40,000. And that's $40,000 that goes into Doug Polk's pocket. So that's going to be it for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you liked it, click like, click subscribe, click the notification bell below. I would appreciate that. Also, to learn these maximally exploitative strategies, make sure you check out pokercoaching.com. We're having a big sale for Valentine's Day. Get that right now at pokercoaching.com/Valentines. Good luck. Have a great, great week. I wish you all the best, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye. Thanks for taking the time to watch this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want more strategy lessons, pre-flop charts, and interactive quizzes, make sure you get your free membership to pokercoaching.com right now at pokercoaching.com/free. I'll talk to you next time.